Hey guys, it's Goosebumps Completionist, and today I'm bringing you my very first Spinetinglers book review, and it's book number 10, The Dead Kid Did It. Off the bat, I really love this Tim Jacobus art cover. I kind of talked about it in my haul video. Very creepy cover, and it definitely drew me into reading this story, which was also equally as creepy. I'm really surprised for my first Spinetinglers read in over probably almost 15 years. This was a great story. The style of writing, as I'll get into the review later, it differs from R.L. Stine's writing in Goosebumps a tad. Same with the ghostwriters in Goosebumps. There's something that doesn't really compare well when you put them side by side, but the characterization was really good. The plot to the story was really good. The characters were very well written, although mildly wordy, but it was pretty cool nonetheless. So a little bit of information before we get into the plot overview. I want to shout out Spongy444. He told me in my haul video, when I review these, I need to look at the copyright to see the actual authors of the book. And on this book, it's written by a gentleman by the name of George Edward Stanley. And yeah, I think he did a pretty good job writing this story, I must say. It does have its differences from Goosebumps, but it's pretty close, I would say. So let's get into the plot overview. So, this story shoots you right into what's going on. This new kid named Dunning moved to this elementary school, which in his elementary school, the grades are K through 6th grade, which I don't know if that's kind of common around the country. When I went to school, 6th grade was middle school. So, you know, it's kind of teetering on that upper elementary, lower middle school grade kid. But anyway, he's a new kid at this elementary school. He's in 6th grade, and he has this locker. And surprisingly, the school implements lockers so that way the kids are ready to go to the next level of schooling, which is junior high. So Dunning has this locker, and he swears there's a dead kid inside of his locker. And what he means by that is there's an arm reaching through the locker with a skeleton arm trying to grab his wrist and tug him inside the locker. And he's petrified. He goes running into his classroom, and he tells his teacher about it, and, you know, his teacher kind of laughs it off. People shrug, kind of making some, murmurs under their breath, saying that he's kind of crazy and whatnot. But this one girl named Kim believes him because she used to have his locker before him. Because, as you'll come to find out in the story, she was once a new kid a couple months earlier, and she was able to switch lockers. But unfortunately for Dunning, he's the only kid, he's the newest kid, so there's no more lockers to go around, so he's stuck with this locker. So Kim writes him a note and says, hey, look, meet me after class, and I'll tell you all about what you're going through. And Kim has to take a makeup test before she can talk to Dunning, and Dunning has this idea, maybe Kim is playing a prank on him, maybe a couple kids are playing pranks, but come to find out, Kim assures him, says no, after she finishes her makeup test, she goes, no, there really is a dead kid in the locker. I never said anything because I've moved around the country a lot, and I know that if I act weird in a class or while I'm the new kid at school, I'll never make friends. So I decided to keep the experience to myself, but I'm pretty sure something's in there, and we should find out what's in there to get it to stop. So Dunning at first is taken back. He's like, I don't want to find out what's in there. I just want to make it stop. Which Kim's, as you'll see with this book, it's kind of wordy, so there's a lot of dialogue to take in. But basically, Kim convinces him that the only way to get him to stop is to figure out why this being is doing what it's doing, or maybe they can discover it and try to kill it somehow or something. So they know an upcoming PTA meeting's coming, so they have to stay after school and hide from the teachers and parents until they all leave, and they can go check out Dunning's locker and find out what exactly is inside the locker. And come to find out, they find this secret passageway which leads to like an underground tunnel type of system through the back of Dunning's locker. And they both decide to go in there. And what they find, there is a dead kid in there. And this dead kid, he is trying to basically, he's stuck in there because the school is built on top of this old graveyard. And the only way he can be in peace again is if his coffin is dug up and put back into the cemetery where his rest of his family is. So, in this whole scene, when it's dealing with this kid, is so creepy. This dead kid, oh god! I mean, it will give you the shivers while reading that chapter. But basically, the kid gives Dunning and Kim an ultimatum. Says, "Hey, look, you got to help me, or I'm going to make your lives miserable. You're going to make me mad, and I'm going to do something I don't know I'm capable of, or I don't necessarily want to do." So they kind of brush him off, try to ignore him. You know, Kim recommends that he kind of blows the kid off for the rest of the year because the kid's been waiting there a long time anyway. And she's like, well, you're going to be done with this school anyway by the end of the year, and then it'll be someone else's problem next year. So Dunning tries that for about a day and then realizes that this dead kid means business, and this dead kid goes and sabotages Dunning's name, writing graffiti all over the school. Dunning gets in trouble, and Dunning chews out the dead kid and says, well, I can't help you if you get me expelled from the school. So this dead kid comes up with this plan, and he goes to the graveyard, because there's a system that you learn throughout the book, is that there's this underground system of tunnels that lead to old abandoned graveyards, and then some lesser populated graveyards, and also that the dead kid can just willy-nilly leave the school whenever he feels through the secret tunnel in the locker, and he can go to the new cemetery and recruit some friends to kind of help him get what he needs. And what he needs is his coffin dug up beneath the classroom. So he goes and recruits these other dead kids who start coming to the school. That's the second wave of scares in this book. And it's safe to say that these kids start attending this school because they realize that, hey, look, you know, instead of being stuck in the dead world, we can be in the living world. So this creates a bigger problem than it really needs to be. And Dunning is now being shunned from not only the dead kids, but the living kids as well. So Dunning has basically put himself in a corner, and all this dead kid really wanted to begin with is to have his coffin moved to near his family so he can, you know, rest in peace and whatnot, but that's just not the case. And he has to find a way to get these kids to want to go back to the cemetery and live there, because now their parents are coming back out of their graves and they're wanting their old job back. They want their old lives back. They're going to people's houses demanding that they leave because they lived there before. Very creepy stuff, very eerie stuff. Ultimately, Dunning devises a plan with the dead kid to meet him at the football field one night, and they'll come up with this master plan to get everyone back in the cemetery. And this is probably the scariest scene in the whole book, where Dunning interacts with this dead person that was where his father moved to this town to take this person's job, and he died. That's why Dunning's dad was allowed to get the job. And he has this interaction with this man. It's absolutely terrifying. I mean, it's scary as heck, man. But anyway, he gets out of that situation, and he has to allow the dead kid to live in his house for a little bit until the whole situation this situation happens at the school. I don't want to spoil anything, but basically, it all comes down to Dunning is able to convince 4 of the main dead kids that are behind this movement to reconsider, and they come to a compromise. And Dunning and Kim agree to the compromise, and some other living kids at the school who are tired of having the dead kids, taking over the school. help them with this compromise, and ultimately another compromise happens where they give some supplies for the parents to kind of help rebuild their old lives, or they can have something to do other than just being dead all the time. And the conflict pretty much resolves itself. There comes to a point where everything gets resolved in some way. And then a twist ending happens, which kind of makes you think whether the dead kid really cared about this all along or not. So basically, in a nutshell, that's The Dead Kid Did It. Strengths on this book: the characterization rocked in this book, although it lacked in the imagery department. It lacked with the descriptive adjectives. It didn't feel like R.L. Stine's, Goosebumps writing. When he was writing the Goosebumps book, he had so many adjectives and so much description. In this book, it's pretty much bare bones description, but there's so much dialogue and so much scenery that they throw at you that you just let your own imagination run wild. I wouldn't consider that a big negative, but it would help if there would be more description within the pages. I feel like if R.L. had this plot in his lap, he would have added a lot of description to this book. Mind you, this book is exactly 150 pages. It probably could have used at least 2 to 3 pages worth of description. And I'm not saying that's a complete negative, but that is kind of a drawback for me. But Dunning, very well written character. I mean, I can't complain with Dunning. Kim was a very good supporting character. The Dead Kid arc, him as a character, he was actually a pretty well written character, and he had a lot of sympathy behind him. And Dunning, him, and the Dead Kid and Kim actually became like a trio of friends through this. So I thought that was a weird aspect to it. The pace kind of felt pretty steady. There was some points where it kind of felt choppy, kind of like mixed up. Like, okay, you'll be reading something, then all of a sudden it will change to a different time period, or like in the timeline of the story, which was kind of abrupt, and I don't know how I really feel about that. But anyways, yeah, I thought the plot was really good. I liked the premise of the book. Just felt kind of choppy. So the negatives, like I said, the choppiness to the plot, lack of description with like the imagery and what have you, were pretty much the main ones. And yeah, that's about it. So from 0 to 5 stars, I think I'm going to rate this book pretty high. I think it's going to be above a 4. I don't think it's going to get a 4.5, but I think I will settle on maybe like a 4.2 out of 5. Really solid book, above average book. I highly recommend this if you're a Goosebumps fan. It's really good. Like I said, I deducted 0.8 off just from the choppiness in the plot and the lack of imagery description there. And on its relatability to Goosebumps, this could be a Goosebumps book. It's just missing some of those typical R.L. Stine flares to them. But I'll give this a 4.5 out of 5. This could easily be a Goosebumps book. I highly recommend this. If you're a Goosebumps fan, check this out. So yeah, that was my review of The Dead Kid Did It. Let me know in the comment section, are you guys interested in reading this after this review? Maybe you guys have read it. If you have read it, did you love it or hate it? Dying to know. And I'll see you next time.